Being wheeled down a dreary, dilapidated hall, Rick Ratner's head bobbed up and down onto his shoulder. He was half conscious, but had no idea where or when he was. He had never seen this place before, but soon felt himself being strapped to a chair in a dimly lit room. Outside, a tumultuous storm was brewing. Lightning could be seen through the windows of each room Rick passed. The thunder crashed like sonic booms. A tree banged hard against the building, creating a loud bang and then a very eerie scratching sound that toyed with one's ears and mind like a crazed madman playing with his prey before the kill. "Hello, Mr. Ratner. I'm Doctor Selis. Do you remember killing your daughter?" "Killing my daughter? What the hell are you talking about?" smirked Rick. "Your daughter, Nataly. She was brutally murdered, Mr. Ratner." "By you," retorted the doctor, as if Rick had been convicted already. Sitting in the stiff chair, unable to move from shock and from heavy restraints, Rick could think of nothing else to say. Trying to process what he had just been told seemed like some impossible task had been set before him. The doctor, exacerbated by Rick's lack of cooperation, moved her chair a little closer to her desk and added, "Okay, Mr. Ratner, let's try a different approach. Do you remember the night your daughter was killed?" "I don't remember my daughter being killed at all. I do remember bits and pieces of the last time I saw her. I remember cooking dinner. I remember Nataly telling me she got a job in Chicago. I remember not being able to deal with it. I mean, my little girl, my only child, moving so far away from me like I wasn't important anymore. I remember dropping the pan I just took off the stove. I remember realizing, after about 30 seconds, how much my foot hurt from a heavy pan being dropped right on it." Rick sat in his chair, his mouth still gaping open after finishing his story. As everything played out in Rick's mind, the best that he could remember it, he tried to imagine the brutality of his daughter's killing. There must have been blood everywhere. She must have screamed so hard. Why would no one come running over and bust in the door, he thought. "Mr. Ratner, your daughter was stabbed. She died from a knife tearing through her spleen and from a massive loss of blood, hemorrhaging," replied the doctor. "Do you remember the knife? It was a kitchen knife. You and your daughter were in the kitchen. You grabbed the knife and stabbed her. Do you remember any of that?" "No, I did not kill my daughter." "I don't remember everything in detail, but I remember a knock on the door. I remember opening the door. I remember someone pushing past me. I remember Nataly and this strange man yelling at each other. I remember stepping toward them and trying to get between them, and then being pushed down and hitting my head. I can't remember it all the greatest, but I remember small pieces, enough to paint a picture in my head." Rick responded as if he were being accused while on the witness stand in a courtroom. "Mr. Ratner, you have been here in this hospital for a week now. You have required a heavy amount of sedation because you have been completely uncooperative and even violent. This is the first opportunity I've had to really speak with you about what happened. Mr. Ratner, we are trying to help you to accept what happened. What we know is that there was no man. It was you, all you. You stabbed your daughter. There were no signs of anyone else in the house but you and your daughter. Your fingerprints were on the knife that was used to stab her. It was her blood that covered your clothing. The police have little else to go on, but all evidence leads to that one conclusion, and that one conclusion only," the doctor said calmly, yet so firmly that Rick still felt like he was being examined by a prosecutor. Rick knew courtrooms well. Having spent nearly 20 years as a litigator, there were few techniques that could be used against him that would be alien to him, even if they did come from a psychiatrist. Rick couldn't help but think, what does she think she's doing? Does she really think she can get me to admit to something I never did? Like I'd fall for this? Like I don't know how interrogations and examinations work? Look, I did none of this. Now, how in the hell can I tell you details about something I never did? You're trying to get me to admit to a crime I never committed. If I were to ever kill someone, not that I could actually do that, but if I did, It would never be my own daughter. Natalie was everything to me. She was my life.